We're going to do a little single verse Bible reflection since Wednesday is Bible day. Uh, got out my old altar Bible that I had it from, I think, the third church I served. But anyway, it's we keep it for special occasions, like to use at weddings or whatever, where people want to take pictures with their hands on it. But I read out of it every now and then just because it's got big print and I can see what's going on. All right, so today our Bible verse is Romans 12, verse 2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may discern what is the will of God. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may know what is the will of God. All right, quickly. You can think of things two different ways. You can think of things from a material point of view or from a spiritual point of view. You might also say you can think of things as in a earthly way or in a heavenly way. You may, see them as temporal or eternal. So we can think of things differently. Now, you can think of the same thing differently. It's not, if you're going to think of things spiritually, you will think of certain things, and if you think of things materially, you'll think of another completely different set of things. You think about the same things, but you just think about them differently if your mindset is material or spiritual. For example, you can see food materially or spiritually. You can see money materially or spiritually. We can also do that with invisible things. You can see your love for somebody, but you can see that, and your attitude towards that and your mindset towards love for others can be material or it can be spiritual. So a couple of things that make a difference here. One is the material mindset is sort of like the mindset of a consumer. We're going to use those things to our benefit. The spiritual mindset is the mindset of a steward. These are things that are entrusted to us, and in the Christian faith, we believe it's entrusted to us by God. And therefore, we are entrusted with these items to be stewards of these items, to take care of these items, to develop these items, to use these items for the purpose that they were designed for. I'm going to give you a quick story. I worked for a carpenter, I think when I was, I might have been out of high school a year, and he went to the church that I went to, and he asked me if I wanted to work, so I went to work for him. And I never will forget, I don't know how it came up, but I was living, I grew up, graduated from high school in Kansas, and there was tornadoes. Here's hurricanes in Louisiana, but Kansas was tornadoes. So we were building the houses and stuff, and I don't know how it came up, but he says to me, you don't know which nail will be the nail that finally holds this house together in a tornado. And I'll never forget that, because what he was saying was every nail is important. And his idea of building houses was to build a place for families to be sheltered from tornadoes. So his mindset was, we are building this, we are using these materials, we are providing our work, we're doing these things, and the purpose was to provide or build a house for a family to protect the family from a tornado. Now, of course, others, even me at that time, we basically were doing carpentry work for money. So we just saw it as a way to get money so we could have money to spend on stuff like, expensive stereos to put in your car or fancy wheels to put on your car. So we didn't really have the same mindset he did. But later in life, I finally realized how important it was for us to finally develop a mindset that sees things more from a spiritual or an eternal angle rather than only materially. Now, as a carpenter, I've hired quite a few different ones through the years. And there are carpenters still today now that work, that as they build houses for people, they see that as building a house for a family to protect that family from the weather and to provide a warm, safe place for them to raise their kids and to train and develop the next generation. That's a pretty lofty view of building the house, the carpentry. So they see the carpentry on a lot different scale than just to make money. Now, here's something interesting that I want to point out to you. There have been people that have come to work for us, and they're pretty good carpenters, some of them. But they're not interested in building houses for families. They're not interested in building public libraries so communities can have places for folks to go and learn. They're interested in making a little money so they can party on the weekend. Now, these kinds of carpenters, we refer to them in a very special way. We say they come to work for beer money, okay? You heard that? They're only working for beer money. They're not interested in the whole purpose and the plan. They're not interested in developing anything for the community or to help families or, to maybe build a kind of a little bit of even a monument to their own work. Or no, they're doing it just so they can have a little money for beer on Saturday. So what I want us to think about today is when God has called you to be a disciple, God has called you to be a witness, and God has called you to give up your old life and take on a new life. I want you to think about that in a more spiritual and heavenly way, and make sure that you are not participating in the work of the church or participating in trying to be a witness or a disciple or participating in these kinds of things to draw attention to yourself or for your own benefit. Make sure that you're involved in this for heavenly reasons and for spiritual reasons, that you are trying to provide opportunities for growth and development and for healing and hope, and that you're allowing God to work through you, that the kingdom that God has designed can keep moving forward and keep coming into the world. So as you see the things you do, think about your calling on that high spiritual level. But then that also now means that you have to consider everything about your life that way. You consider your talents, your skills, your opportunities. Matter of fact, even your attitude has to be designed to where it is spiritually motivated, not materially motivated. Your resources, the resources and your possessions that you have, you have to think of those in a spiritual and heavenly way, that they are provided to move forward the purpose that God has given you. So whatever purpose God has given you, make sure that your talents and your skills, your time and your possessions, all of that, make sure that you have the mindset, the transformed mindset that makes you see those things and use those things in a spiritual in a heavenly manner. So I guess I'm going to leave you with this. I hope in your commitment to serving God, I hope you're not just doing it for beer money. I hope you're doing it for the right reason. I'll see you in church Sunday.